and welcome back. I'm super happy that we have returned from the break, and I'm very excited to proceed to the very last, but not least, the very last session of our today's conference and of our 2 days conference. Pardon my tautology. I'm super happy that we are on the very final line, and just to make sure that you return from the break, just to make sure that you're all super excited as well to hear the message by our guest speaker, Raul. I would love to learn, just maybe you could drop a line in the chat and write if you are excited to hear his message. Let me give a kind reminder and introduce him at the same time. He's going to speak about how to sell e-learning to, attention, your employees, not to your clients, not to your stakeholders, not to your sponsors, or maybe even board of directors. We are speaking about employees specifically. So I'm sure Raul is going to give heads up on that. Yes, David says he's still here, eager to continue. Juventus says yes, also willing to continue. I'm super happy you guys are our very loyal visitors. Best for last, says Anita. So we've got a lot of support. I'm super happy. I'm also very excited to give you a formal introduction of Raul. He's a seasoned learning architect at OneSpan. OneSpan is an iSpring client. Remember the very first day I told you I promised we're going to bring an iSpring client? Here we go. That is why examples in Raul's session will be in the iSpring Learn LMS. So I'm sure we are going to speak about how to conduct an inner PR campaign on e-learning, how to help employees realize the value of training, and how to engage employees in the training process. So how to ensure this buy-in from the employees. Right, I don't want to take a single more minute of the time devoted to Raul. He will have about an hour in total for his session and questions and answers. And as usual, please welcome to share your comments, thoughts, questions, whatever you have in mind. Genuinely thought of, as Tom has explained. Share that in the chat, and it really helps. I see some of the participants to get the gist of the session. So I'm welcoming everybody to support each other and to support our speakers. So let's give it a try and check if we are online. Raul, do you hear me? Is everything okay?
Hi, Chris. Loud and clear, yes.
Great. How are you today? I can see some sun.
What an introduction, and you can see my fake jungle in the background, so I'm ready.
Great. I'm so super happy. Please be sure that this is a very warm and welcoming audience. They give all their support to you. So welcome, enjoy, break a leg.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. So first things first, hello and welcome. My name is Raul. I'm thrilled to have been invited to speak during iSpring Days conference. Thank you, Nadia, as well. Thank you to the team behind the stage. And yes, what an amazing session so far. I mean, all the previous presentations and all the speakers, very insightful talks, discussions, live chat. I've attended all of them, and I just love them. Okay, so in order to begin, I would just like to take 1 minute to introduce myself and OneSpan. I'm part of OneSpan, the Learning and Development Department. And indeed, my journey started maybe a year ago or a bit, something around that, when part of the Learning and Development team, we decided that it's time to change our learning management system. And lo and behold, after a long search for our vendors, we indeed arrived at iSpring Learn, and my journey starts there since then. As responsibilities currently, I'm the gatekeeper of the LMS. That's how my word goes in the company. But beyond that, my responsibilities, I'm so sorry, my responsibilities, they range from user adoption of the learning portal, making sure that there's a memorable learning experience that our internal and external learners go through, ensuring LMS governance and standards are adopted. And really, I have so much to share with you today, and I try to sneak in a few interactive exercises here and there. So I hope you will enjoy, knowing that you've been already for 4 hours today. So well done to everybody still standing after this period. Okay, moving on. Before we continue, I would like to just get to know you for just a little bit, if I can. I would like to know my audience, because as you'll see throughout my presentation, knowing your audience is probably the most critical aspect in any project that you will undertake. So the question is, what best describes your current role? You might have a combination of the options that you see on the screen. Chris, until I go through the actual poll itself, would you please have a look at the chat in the meantime while our attendees type it? And I just want to ask you, are you, for example, new to learning and development industry? Are you a human resources or an L&D specialist? Do you create e-learning? Are you an instructional designer? Or are you tasked with, for example, delivering training, be it in a classroom or in a virtual setting? Or are you a manager of people? Because I have something prepared for every single category in this poll. Okay, so I think what I will do, I will continue, Chris, and then at some point we will get back to the result of the poll, as I know that there is a little bit of a lag there. Wonderful. Okay, are you ready? So know that throughout this session, there are 2 opportunities for you to earn one of those badges. One award is High Five Award, and one will be the Ace of Speed Award. So keep that in mind as we go through the session, as I will have some specific exercises or questions for you to tackle, and the first to answer correctly in the chat wins. Whew. Let me ask you, are you ready to start? Let's kick it in. The first thing that I would like to address is some of the main challenges that are present in any learning organization, not just in OneSpan or iSpring, like we heard from some of the iSpring folks, is just universal. First, time allocated to learning. If we assume that an employee dedicates an average of 40 hours in a year to training, that is only 1.9% of the total amount of hours, working hours, that an employee normally spends in a year. So our challenge when creating any course, any activity, any learning event is to make it count, both creating and delivering. Second, that I would like to cover today is learning experience. So beyond the number of clicks, right, maximum 3 clicks to get to anything in any learning management system, you have to focus on how you access the course, how easy it is to access your course materials. What hoops are your participants going through to actually attend the live session? How difficult it is? The learning flow, how do you jump from a page, from a chapter, from a module to a survey, to an exam? All these is making the learning is challenging, and it's very hard to make a learning journey memorable, intuitive, and seamless. And third one that I would like to share today is return. Well, return on investment. And although this is a number we'll see later, a learning organization, you first have to align to the business needs. So if you, as a learning and development team, go in line with your company's direction and vision, you can then have a chance to show the return for the learning investment. So often this part, like we've seen and tackled in maybe half of the previous discussions, is extremely challenging. Hard to measure sometimes, and even completely omitted. And yes, guilty on that on some projects. Okay, do you agree with these challenges? Another question back to the previous one. And have you encountered other types of challenges? And I'm sure you did, but these are my top 3 favorite challenges that I would like to tackle. I think at this point, before we proceed, Chris, how is the poll looking, or that initial question? Where is our audience from?
Right. I'm super happy to get back to you because we've had a lot of answers. Most of those who answered are trainers or creators, as well as some of them are managers and LMS administrators. Some actually share several roles, and it was interesting for me to observe that, for example, Vermont Local Road, would say that they are juggling several roles, such as managing, creating, training, being a specialist and an administrator at the same time. So literally jack of all trades. And I think it would be very interesting for you to know, Raul, that we have several people in the audience, and it was also already mentioned earlier, who are totally new to the industry. So they wouldn't identify themselves somehow in terms of the roles, but they're looking forward to starting their career path in this area. And apart from that, I'd like to say that there are already several comments about the agreement with those challenges that you've proposed. So the audience is totally on board with you.
Wow. Welcome, everybody. Just before we continue, indeed, to your remark that you have to do multiple tasks, I know exactly what you mean. I've been there, and I just counted going towards my 8th year in the industry, and yes, more than 5 with OneSpan now currently. But believe me, I know exactly what you mean. On one hand, when you cover all these areas, you have a chance to really excel on most of them, or on the projects that you currently have, given that you learn from your experience, from being a learner, from being a trainer, from designing courses, from being the subject matter expert. And yes, to Tom's session, I might be repeating just a few aspects about the SME collaboration, because I think it's critical, and we will get to that later on. And by the way, as you can see, I'm growing the beard, not to the full extent that Tom had. I'm gonna get there one day. Good, okay, let's continue. Our approach to what we've just discussed about challenges is a roadshow. Today, we will cover how we can promote the learning portal and the learning content to our customers. And when I say customers, within our departments or the learning and development industry, our customers can be internal and external. And in our company, we deliver to both internal audiences and OneSpan customers as well, and partners. So I might be able to ask questions about the whole spectrum if you have. How to help employees, or in fact, how to help everyone that attends your course realize the value of trading. And what I want to focus is reiterating what's in it for them. And I apologize, but why will be on half of my slides. As in, we've had so many challenges because we did not address the why, that I want to make sure that if you take something from this course, is every time you create something, make sure that when you deliver it, your message explains why you are sitting here. So for you, my dear listeners and attendees, if you leave the conference knowing that I've delivered on, why are you attending my session, I will be very, very happy and satisfied. Okay, and thirdly, how we plan to engage the learner. And that is why memorable learning experience comes in. Now, just a side note, at OneSpan, we work, as Chris mentioned, with our learning management system, iSpring Learn. And we also use PowerPoint in combination with iSpring Suite to create content. And my presentation is based, or what I'm about to share is tailored to having a learning management system with capabilities also to create courses, content creation directly in the LMS. That's why this is probably one of the highest, it was one of the highest criteria why we chose iSpring for as our vendor for the LMS. Okay, let's start the roadshow. So our key deliverables from this specific session, I want to make it clear that there are two things that I want you to take from this session. And one is how important it is to have an unforgettable learning experience, and how easy it is to collaborate, how easy it is for people with the knowledge. And these are, in my presentation, viewed as subject matter experts. So how easy it is, or how easy it should be to work with them to create content, bring it into the LMS, and feed it to the entire organization. And just a side note, there was some discussion about the definition of subject matter expert in Tom's session. I fully agree, and it was really spot on for exactly what we are going through within our company. And I just want to say that I'm simplifying it a bit. For me, is everybody with the brains, everybody with the knowledge for that content is a subject matter expert. And myself, everyone that takes the responsibility of creating the content, the visuals, the learning journey, the promotion of the course, and so on, is L&D. So if you'll see later on, SME plus L&D, this is what I mean: knowledge plus the L&D skills of telling a story and so on. Good. Next, where do we start? As always, you cannot go ahead with any project or anything until you get the backing of your executives team. We need a champion in the leadership team that can advocate for our learning program, that believes in our vision for learning. We have to also ensure, as I mentioned before, that we are aligned with the business needs, because, well, only when we can reach out to the leadership is when they can back us up, is only when they see that we are helping the business succeed. And if we are aligned, and we can, for example, showcase the value, do evaluations, show metrics, and so on, we have higher chances for them to be our champions. So it's a two-way street. If we make them succeed, they will help us promote our course or learning and so on. So remember, it's critical that you always go in line with your business. You never deliver something or start the learning program before you can ensure that you are delivering on the needs of the business. And what we notice, and you might see, this changes from period to period. I don't know if your environments are volatile, but with the pandemic, with various things happening in all the companies, with the economy and so on, things can shift quickly. And that is when you, as a L&D specialist or L&D team or department, you have to adapt. So if they need courses for your employees, you go there and you deliver. If they need something else, you always have to adapt, because then they support you, and then you are successful and they are successful too. Keep this in mind, the alignment with your senior leaders. After an internal analysis that we did, we identified 5 groups. And as you saw, the poll have 5 categories. We have 5 rules. And many times there will be 5 things that we have to do. So our target audience was the first thing that we had to identify. We start with, they range from learner, which is the entire organization. Then the subject matter expert, or the person with the knowledge that has materials, the collaborator. Then content creator, and we will see what this means a bit later. Manager of people. Oh, wow. What do I have in store for you, managers? And let's not forget what happens when you join. What happens in your first day in a company, in your first week, and in the first 3 months or 6 months. So throughout the presentation, we will address what are the ways, let's say, that we can deliver on each of those 5 target audience. So as you can see, alignment, clear, identifying clearly what your target audience is. So then you're set for success and you can deliver on, start developing and start implementing your course. Okay, something that you will know that is very hard to do, but I have to mention it because it is very important to identify the return on investment. This has been mentioned before, but what is the learning ROI, or return on investment, for each of the categories? For every target audience, we have to have a success metric. When is it successful? And what are the benefits, for example, for a learner or a new joiner for taking a course? Why would they go to your learning platform and take a course? Why? What's in it for them? Managers. How about managers of people that take interest in learning and help their team succeed by recommending courses? Is this something even possible? If you're a manager in this session, did you recommend, are you aware of all the learning option and capabilities of your company? And do you recommend this? Do you recommend a learning plan for all your team members? This is so critical. Good, so we addressed the new joiner and manager. What are the benefits for a subject matter expert or somebody with the knowledge to share their materials forward? Why would they do that? And how about the benefits for instructional designer? What's in it for them? And here, just one word to give it out is speed of creating content. And we can speak about that a bit later, or if you have questions, I'm happy to address. So the return on investment is generally seen as a number. I agree, but sometimes, as I mentioned before, it might be extremely hard to calculate something, or the program might not be sufficient, large or big enough to sustain such a return on investment calculation. But think of it just the learning ROI, which is any tangible or intangible aspect, but you have to have a measure to a way to measure the success of your program. As you notice, one other aspect that I would like to bring to you is our audience is really from the entire company, ranges, as you saw, from division to division or from group by group. But frankly, regardless of the size, everyone learns in different ways. This is another challenge that we experience. That is why we need to cater to various learning styles. One, by providing live sessions and meetings. So go ahead, have meetings, introduce yourself. You'll see what I'm referring to in a second. Dedicate hands-on workshops. One way to engage is by having people do it themselves, learn about how a learning management system operates, how your course, how your e-learning, what's the flow, and where can they find it, and so on. And three, self-paced courses. So either having them like we did just 2 sessions ago, when you had to create your interaction in iSpring and so on. But what if now you had missed that session and you would really want to follow back? Well, there will be in an offline version, in this case, a recording of that presentation, but in a company with a learning management system and tools to create e-learning, you have self-paced courses that are allowing for just-in-time learning. So what you see on the screen is actually our blueprint for this session and what comes next. Okay, we're getting close to a small interaction with the public, so just hang in there. I have one last aspect to mention. So let's make sure that we deliver on those 2 key aspects that we started our presentation with. First was the unforgettable learning experience. So imagine if we can capture the attention of a learner and deliver an outstanding, memorable learning experience. 538. For the learner, it takes just seconds to form an opinion. And when you have done it right, when the course design is appealing, when it is easy to access, when it is intuitive to follow, the knowledge transfer just flows, is favorable, and the retention is much, much higher. So we captured the interest of the learner in the first seconds. Now it's time to initiate the knowledge transfer. Okay, I have a question for you. Can anyone recall the number I just mentioned a few seconds ago? Did the video make it difficult to focus? So let's see, the first person to write the correct number in the chat receives the high five award. Okay, Chris, would you please let me know when people start to give in the the numbers? Hopefully somebody remembers.
Yeah, absolutely, I will. And I think because this was a time-sensitive question, we might be receiving answers a little faster this time. So let's see. Yeah, well, actually, we already have the answers. Look at that. Tsunami says 5, John says 2, and Marita says 1.
It was, wow. Okay, so
David says
first 2. One, it started with a good number. I might have made it too difficult because the number that I said is made of three numbers. So 5 is the first one, 3 digits. If okay, so far is a partial win. Let's let them continue and see if anybody remembers. I can speak a bit more about this memorable learning experience, and then we can see. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
That was a cheeky one. Let's see. So how can we? I need to stop. I know. It's too tempting. So how can we achieve a memorable learning experience in a virtual setup like today? Well, we realized that 2 aspects need to be addressed. Relevant content and seamless journey. This is why we changed our previous learning management system, as the experience was not frictionless, not appealing, and simply deterred users from learning. So we needed to address this, and hence we have started our search for a new learning management system, LMS. Good. Okay, so I think this is what I wanted to make sure on this slide. Anyone in the chat trying out new numbers? So 3 digits.
Unfortunately, we keep getting only 1-digit numbers, such as 2, 2, and 3.
Okay, so it was a. So should I give it out?
I think so, because it was indeed. Celine says 538.
Oh, high five, Celine!
Bravo! High five,
wow.
Celine! Then the prize goes to Canada.
Absolutely, that's for you. High five award. I did not, but I thought I made it too hard, but well done, Celine. Fabulous. Keep in mind, there's still an opportunity for a second award, for the last award. Just make sure you are paying attention. Good. I'm ready to move on. Let's see. So what is our action plan? As I mentioned with the blueprint, we will address the same mindset or structure for all 5 target audience that we have. First is we need to start with a short introduction. For example, this is for all learners. The message is, come see our learning platform, come enroll in a course, try it out. It can be just a short 10 minutes introduction during company team or department team meetings or company town halls, introducing only the relevant features and concepts that are most relevant for that learner, for that team. So for example, if you have a course and if you have something relevant for a specific team, make sure now it's the time to shine and put a spotlight on that. What our idea is to also have handoffs after this short meeting. And finally, not just in this instance, but throughout all learning activities, make sure to clearly address the why. Why is this content relevant to your learner? Why should they take a course? And finally, like I mentioned, be mindful of the different learning styles and make this introduction available as a self-paced, because somebody that did not have access, maybe missed, maybe had some personal, with this pandemic and so on, virtual work, they just got or were not able to attend this introductory meeting. So make sure you offer a version of what you just presented in a just-in-time mode or a self-paced course. So before I move forward, I just wanted to, this will be the structure we will go through all the 5 target audiences, but I wanted to mention the ideas we had. So by just sort of hijacking the first minutes of any team meeting, of course, with your manager's approval or with your supervisor or with the director's approval, if they get the buy-in and they see the value, you can then just introduce yourself and make sure to say, we exist. This is the learning catalog that you have. These are the resources that you can leverage. So one idea is hijack team meetings. Good. Next, in terms of handoff, what we thought that would be great is to deliver in a handoff after any meeting. You can give a handoff to say, look, the messages, we didn't have enough time to speak about all the things that we have to offer. So here is what I'm showing you. When or how can you contact the learning and development team? If you have questions about your learning portal or content, where do you go? Here is a schedule of anything that is going on, live session within your companies, or live training, not live instructor-led training next. Or in our case, here's the structure or the schedule of our roadshow. This is what you can attend. Here are for every different audiences, but come and see. So all this information, we couldn't have said it all because we needed to be brief in that introductory session. And feedback, well, this ties back into that hard part, the last step, the evaluation, is always allow people to share feedback, best anonymous if possible. So make it in a way that, hey, you can always give feedback at any time, share anything that you would like about the learning platform, about courses, about learning in general, but allow people a medium to share feedback. Plus, I'm sure you can think of many other ideas to include. So please write them in the chat if you have any ideas that could go in a handoff, or if you've done this so far. And yes, Chris will tackle this. We'll do two more slides, and then we'll tackle this part. I need to be mindful of the time, but I think we're doing great. Okay. So all learners, make sure that they know you exist. That was the sort of core message we wanted to give. Next is collaboration. And we looked, for example, in the past, right? We looked back and we noticed that there are so many people with so many good resources that are scattered in the intranet, in some sort of corner, in a folder somewhere, in a SharePoint directory. And we just realized that this are small silos of knowledge, and we just need them outside or broken out of knowledge to be shared with greater teams. And indeed, to Tom's session, working with subject matter expert or with people that have the knowledge and they already created content, we want to partner with them, collaborate, and say, hey, we have fantastic tools and you have fantastic knowledge. What can we do if you just allow us to bring that content and share it and make it visible with others, rather than for you keeping that content siloed in your team? What I'm referring here, imagine somebody created a presentation for a new colleague. This is probably an example that you can relate to. And then that presentation is super valuable, but it stays within that team. What if team B from the same department has a new joiner and would like to access the presentation, or not would like, but would benefit from accessing the other presentation? So this is the type of collaboration that we want to facilitate. This is what we have in mind when we speak about collaboration. So throughout this session with collaborators, it's a longer session, intermittent level, not beginners or introduction, but we explain the partnership between the subject matter experts and the learning and development specialist. How does it work? And what are the steps for collaboration? So for example, we meet to analyze your content. Then we provide our feedback. We showcase the opportunities that our learning management system or the authoring tool can do. We then show proof or transformation use cases to say, look, you're not sure what we can do for you. We are selling ourselves to our subject matter expert at this moment. But look at this before and look at this after this use case or this presentation or this course. So, such a course I've worked on not so long ago for Introduction to Accessibility. So we did, it was a fantastic five small videos course, and we just turned it and we transformed it completely and we put it into smaller chunks of less videos with filler text and beautiful journey and beautiful learning experience. And all this was possible to do with the course authoring that our LMS has. So once you have such pilot programs, you can then showcase this transformation use cases to your new collaborators or subject matter experts and say, hey, look what's possible. Come and speak to us and sacrifice a bit of your time to work with us. Now, I know, and I heard the discussion before that this is challenging, and I agree with you. But our approach was more like, look, you're doing fantastic job. You have a program that you share it with some team members. Our first approach was to do this, to always share that we are here to help them. That's, we are here to lift some of their weight. And the way I proposed it, or we proposed it, was to say, you are running both in a beginner foundation course for something, essentials, and you then also have another session for live session for more advanced, or digging a bit deeper into the knowledge that you shared. So imagine that we are proposing, allow the LMS to set the foundation through a self-paced course, and then you have double the time or more time to focus on those, building up on top of that. So moving from a completely live program, live meetings or live virtual meetings, to having foundations set up in self-paced course, essentials, and then you require your participants into the next meeting to have viewed or went through that course. And this frees up the time for the SME to focus and dig deeper into achieving, better results, not setting the foundation, which is something that a self-paced course could achieve. And an example we did was with Scrum team. We worked on that, on user story mapping. So that's an example I have to share. Coming back to the presentation, we love badges. Although we are at the beginning, even in OneSpan, but as you see, I love badges. Everybody loves a bit of, making sure that they are praised and they are rewarded. And just a word of badge, create a mindset that they are learning ambassadors. And our LMS supports, iSpring Learn supports badging. So it was very easy to use different online resources, add your own badge, and then have this in the system. Plus, you probably have social tools, and you could have something in the signature of your email, or you can get creative, but make sure to reward or recognize when somebody collaborates and goes. Some of the SMEs want to do that, because if some do it and they get the visibility, that badge will definitely be seen by the other SMEs, and then you just could be a network effect if you do it right. Again, as I mentioned, you have to make sure that everyone understands why. So our collaborators need to know what's in it for them and what are they gaining by working with you, the learning and development specialist. And this is really, really critical. Next part, you will see it on all the slides, make sure that this is available as a self-paced course or another offline version for any SME that just couldn't attend any of your sessions. It just happened that life happened and they just couldn't attend your presentation. Ready? So it's time for the second award. The first person to write in the chat the result of this calculation receives the Ace of Speed award. Chris, please let me know when you start receiving the results. And okay. Hopefully this might take just a bit of time, but not too long. Also, Chris, are there questions? How is it looking in the chat up to this point?
Feels like people were really excited about the first badge, and we kept receiving some options later on. I think it again gets in connection with the speed of live streaming, because somebody receives this question a little earlier and the others a little later. It also might help if you update, reload the page on your YouTube, so you might have a chance to keep up with the pace of Raul a little bit better. And of course, we got so much engaged with the badges that everybody started congratulating Celine, and she was also super happy. So it kind of goes along with your story about badges and being rewarded. So let's have a quick look at what we have. Ceremony says it's 2,488, and
No.
Andrea says it's 70-20-10.
That is it. Congratulations, Andrea.
Bingo!
You won the Ace of Speed award. Congratulations to you. You were spot on, Andrea. Good. What does this number represent with reference to learning?
Let's wait for this answer as well. Would you like to wait for the colleagues to share their opinion?
I do. You know, maybe some of you will recognize just a quick overview of something. But hopefully you recognize the number.
Yeah.
So Chris, share with me more from the chat.
Yeah, sure. We've been receiving more 70-20-10 answers. Actually, a lot of answers received already, but Andrea was the first one. Again, apologize, dear colleagues, those who were just in the right time, but maybe the internet speed was in favor of Andrea. Maybe she just has very flexible fingers and types very quickly. So this is all about pure matter of seconds. So we have, Andre's very happy. We've got lots of comments and hand claps. Catherine has a guess that it refers to a certain date, 70-20-10. I don't know, maybe the 70th of the 20th month of 2010 or something, or vice versa, 1970, the 20th of October, who knows? But we've got other options. Andrea says it's 70-20-10 model. Perhaps this is why Andrea understood gave the first answer in the first place. Also,
I think it was a fair, the expression did not give it out, so that could have been, that was fair to everyone, but she's right. She's right. So this is a model, 70-20-10.
Give me a sec. I've got more answers from the chat. Let's have a quick look at what was received from the audience. Anita says 70 self, 20 tactile, 10 formal. Givantis says 70 experience, 20 social, and 10 formal. Marita says 70-20-10 principle. Zulaimi, sorry if I mispronounced the name, 70 experience at work, 20 coaching from peers, and 10 formal learning. And Lena says individuals obtain 70% from job, 20 from interactions, and 10 from education.
I mean, there are so many synonyms for every single numbers. There's nothing I can say, but just you nailed it. So thank you so much for that. I will move to the next slide, as I think we might be running a bit low on time, and I just want to make sure. Good. Next, third one. Third target audience that we are looking after are our content creators. Now, this is an extension or some version of what we've just seen, but looking into the future. So we want to say, are you an instructional designer? So I would, as I'm now into the gatekeeping of the LMS, I would go and I would work with all the instructional designers to make sure that they're aware of the course authoring capabilities, so having hands-on workshops, and say, look how easy it is to build content directly in the learning management system. And the why here is the speed. If before you do, indeed, in PowerPoint, you can do magic. You add iSpring Suite, wow. But if you need a fast delivery of course, and you have course authoring capabilities in your learning management system, I mean, wow, you just go and you do it. And it's in our case, it was so much faster with less cost, as in less time spent on some other ways. Although each has its benefit, but this is what we needed in this changing volatile times. Next, not just as this is a workshop, you need either a guide or in this case, documentation. And I just wanted to reflect and mention that iSpring, so I'm using the documentation a lot and is really spot on. So I would recommend that you check with your vendor and make sure that they have good documentation for the tools that you're using, be it either a learning system or course authoring tools. Okay, just make sure that this is something you share with whoever decides or whoever joins you in this mission to spread learning content to your employees. And again, they are similarly learning ambassadors, and they should be awarded a badge as well. When they work with you and when you incentivize them to create content directly or to create content, you're there to help, give feedback if they need, and so on. But they also are learning ambassadors. Address the why and have this workshop available as a self-paced course. I'm going a bit faster, so please, as we are getting close to the end, please type any questions in the chat. I'm probably 2 slides away from the end. Finally, or almost at the end, number 4, this is for you managers of people. Please take care of the learning track or journey, or you can help your team succeed, and you are the vessel that needs to do this. So I'm not a manager, but I have a role model, and I just want to make sure how critical and important it is for your next level to share and to give some guidance, not handhold, but just share with you and put you on the right track to succeed. So by being a promoter of learning, you have to know what are your offerings, who is delivering training in your company, what are the learning programs, when do you need to contact. Everything about learning you should be mindful of, and make sure that you direct your team members to the right content when they need it. And for this, you can manage with some learning management system. You have a dashboard to manage your team's enrollment. So I'm still about to implement this. It's not there, but iSpring has a supervisor dashboard. They just released it recently. So it's very easy to see your team and then to say, assign a course to your team. And even this small gesture can set a new joiner on a successful path. Okay, so just be mindful, what is your role in pushing learning towards your team? Because normally you have pull approach. So for example, you open a catalog and you say, whenever you have time, dear learner, go and pick your course. So pull. You can, as a L&D team or a training team or an HR, push training and say, code of conduct is mandatory. You push it. They have to do it. But then there's also another aspect that is most of the time is the managers recommending courses to their team. Okay, so there are 3 ways of pushing content in a company. And finally, when we are having these sessions with manager, we highly recommend them, although they're borderline mandatory. So we want them to really know that we exist and how can they help their own team. And finally, let's not forget about new joiners, although you will see that the focus is indeed on the current employees, but companies expand, and new joiners, we thought about automatic enrollments that we can create within our learning management system and say, every time somebody new joins our company, they should know or be enrolled in this specific course about our learning organization. And don't forget to make it memorable. This concludes our roadshow. And just to summarize, before we go into Q&A, it's critical to identify your target audience. We had 5 that we always dealt with throughout the beginning. So our learner, our collaborator, our subject matter expert, our designer, and our manager of people. You have to know the challenges. We started looking at and being mindful of what challenges we are facing, and just make sure that you deliver a clear message. Every time when you leave the session, they should know what the session was about. Okay, that's what I can tell you. And finally, thank you so much for your attendance. Please reach out to me and get in touch if you have any further questions or if you want to connect on LinkedIn. Chris, back to you. Tell me, how's the chat looking? As you can see, it's dark in here. I apologize for that. It's completely dark, and we have questions.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, first of all, Raul. That is very, very engaging, and it gives us a great example of how engaging this can be. I really appreciate this detailed description, and again, very visual, very juicy to my taste at least. And I'm sure everybody else is also enjoying that. So if you guys have any comments, questions, please share in the chat. Still seeing that people are discussing the 70-20-10 and discussing how smart this model is and how smart our audience is. It is indeed a pleasure to see that a lot of people nailed your question. It means that they are familiar with this, and it means that we are really using this very prepared soil to put the seeds in it, right? So many words of thanks, soaking in all of the insights, such an informative session. I'm receiving so far all the comments of thanks. Still trying to get my head around 538, says John Tate, trying to figure out how it happened. Yeah, so it was quite a puzzle.
It was the donuts. That's why.
Indeed. So people probably got sugar high even by just looking at the picture, right? Okay, so let me first go through one question that I have in mind, Raul, because I'm still receiving so many thank you comments, but not exactly the questions. So I think questions are coming because it takes a little time to process and type them in. So let me go through the question that I had in mind while I was I was enjoying the presentation as well. I want to say that I was thinking, you know, a lot of examples that you were referring to are relevant to companies of like, okay, let's be fair, big size companies, corporations, etc. So, and we've been facing this shift from in office work to home work. And so I was wondering if this shift, the COVID shift and some other shifts of the Great Recession and the other things that followed, whether they were impacting learning within your organization and what helped you adapt. Maybe you want to just dwell upon this. We've already been discussing this with the other experts, so I believe it might be relevant to yours experience as well.
It's a very good question, and absolutely. I think it impacted the world. Yes, so in 2019, we were lucky that our manager at that time was actually having a sort of weird premonition, I bet. We started to switch to virtual training around 6 months before the pandemic started. So we delivered classrooms, we traveled all around the world. We were always being there. I loved it. And then we were starting to be mindful of the costs that our traveling and everything incurs, bringing people from all over our offices globally to one location over multiple weeks for a technical enablement, sales enablement, just onboarding them properly gave amazing learning output, but at a cost. So we started already to see the cost aspect. So we shifted to virtually, to delivering virtually this one. So then in 2020, the pandemic sort of took the world and the global stage by storm and just forced everybody into working from home. And we did the first aspect was to go and create a sort of inventory of what our courses are. And we had to go through the exercise to transform them, to switch them from, we call them mammoth trainings. Imagine a course of hundreds of slides, but you in a classroom setup was perfect. It made sense because you would have breaks, you would have interaction, could be a whole week. So that mammoth training did not work anymore on a virtual where people have to stare at the computer for 5 days, let's say.
Had to die out. Had to
So
do
indeed. So the first thing was we chunked them. We moved, or we started the move to just-in-time learning, or having small niblets of learning. We needed to cut our training quite a bit and to make it more condensed. So I think if I remember, that was one of the aspects, and it took a long time. It's probably, I dare to say, even in progress with some of the big courses today. So moving from making sure that you deliver and you adapt to short pieces of learning in shorter times that are available whenever the customer, the learner, wants them, that was the first thing. And then the second thing is actually making sure that everything is still relevant. You need to update things, and then you need to change branding, then you need to change something. So that process is very, very challenging to stay up to date with all your courses in a world where you have to deliver engaging virtual sessions. So we played and we tested various things. You test workshops, you try breakout rooms, you do various games while onboarding new people. We are trying, and you just need to be creative in how you capture attention, but it's much, much more difficult. So I would say these are two aspects that were the main contributors during the last years since the pandemic started. With the recession, well, costs. So definitely cost reduction. I mean, definitely making sure that creating e-learning or any type of learning has value. As I mentioned, it's not easy to put a number on it, but if you show the results, remember that you need to measure the effectiveness at the end. So don't let any course go unmeasured at the end. So make sure you can show 1 month, 6 months. Make sure you have the results, and you can say, look, we spent 40 hours in creating this presentation or this course, this program. This is what we got out. Maybe the formal way of evaluating this is by survey afterwards. Some metrics, if you have Salesforce and you train salespeople, can you see any change in the activities in Salesforce? Can you see changes in the number of, and then insert key metric here. I think that's something that we need to be mindful in this economy.
Thank you, Raul. This was a very extensive and very thoughtful answer. However, we've got only 2 minutes left, and I have one more question left on board. So I think I want to give you a badge ace of speed if you manage to answer quickly, okay? You're going to receive Christina's badge, all right? So the question comes from Mohammed. Mohammed asks, are these principles applicable for selling e-learning to other people apart from employees? If not, what can you add?
Okay, on social media. So if you completely take out this, make sure you have the why. What's in it for? Why would anyone? So what I've mentioned, I think it's applicable for everything. Just make sure to say why would they benefit from your presentation, from your course. Let's say you want to go on Coursera or Udemy and create a course. Just make sure that, of course, don't go into a saturated market, but if you have to differentiate somehow, but make sure to make it clear, if you do this course, you can achieve the specific goals and so on. And I know it's hard to say, but really reflect on the why. That will be mine. Plus, make sure the second feedback is, I didn't create this presentation just like that. I did work a lot on it, but make sure to seek feedback and to have really quality content. Because if you don't have the content, you will not attract. So a clear message, great content, seek feedback from your friends, family, let them see the presentation and say, what can you improve on this slide? I think this would be it.
Great. Thank you, Raul. You made it.
Principles in this one.
You made it. Yes, you made it. You're receiving my badge, as well as the thanks from the chat. There are so many comments about how the people agree with you, how it was supportive, and how they thank you for sharing all of this, how important this was for the industry, how insightful this was. So really, really many thanks from the people from all over the world. It's been really, really exciting. Yes, Chris, give him a badge, tells me Celine. All right. Yeah, Celine has already received one. I think she's not eager to share hers with you. She only asks me to give you my badge. Anyway, regardless, Raul, I hope you are satisfied with what has happened. Are you happy with what you've shared? Are you happy how our audience received you?
Absolutely. I want to thank you all for your chat interactions. I have not seen you. I wish we would have had all our videos on. Thank you so much for your positive feedback. Again, feel free to connect with me. And Chris, wonderful, awesome job in marathon of 12 hours almost of standing up and delivering on Great Smile and the conference flow. And to everybody behind the scenes of this conference, congratulations. A well run and well done conference. And also to the speakers, I've enjoyed every single one. So thank you all.
Exactly. In some languages and some cultures, they say that the first ball or the first roll or whatever you take, it depends on the culture, is not always the best one or is not always the perfect one. Again, different languages have different proverbs, but it seems like it was a pretty good one. If not the best one, if not perfect, then it was quite a good one, thanks to all of you guys. But I hope, Raul, you will be able to stay with me and with the rest of the guys for at least 5 more minutes and keep your screen shared so that we will be able to close it up. So many thanks to you again. Please review the chat comments after. And I want to say bye to you, but not goodbye everybody else, because I still believe that we have a couple of things to discuss before we formally call it a day. So first and foremost, remember what we've done yesterday. By the end of the session, we have identified one single thing that was really helpful, useful, interesting, or probably insightful for you out of the day of the conference. Today, I want to amend this question a little bit and still ask you to participate for a couple of more minutes to make sure that we receive a really, really helpful feedback for the rest of the events that we are catering for you, tailoring for you with all our love and energy. So the question that I want to ask you now is the question about what you found the most enjoyable, not exactly in the content, but in the conference as it is. Maybe you've been with us only today. Maybe you've been with us 2 days, nonstop, almost 12 hours, but doesn't matter. Just share with us one thing that you found the most enjoyable, the most nice out of all the conference. That could be, for example, the choice of speakers, or the fact that you liked the timing and it was organized in a nice fashion. Or maybe you enjoyed the fact that you had a chance to interact with your speakers, with our experts. Or maybe you enjoyed the fact that they've been offering you books, badges, special coupons, promo codes, something that you found enjoyable. Would be lovely for us to hear, because in the long run, we make it for the sake of spreading the ideas of education. We make it for the sake of making people happy, because this is, in the end, the final answer to the final question, why? So while you're doing that, again, aggregating your thoughts, processing, breathing in, breathing out, going through all of this mindfulness techniques to make sure you are preparing the best answer, I'd like to refresh all sessions in your memory from today. So, that was quite a long time ago. The first session was about scenario-based learning, how to turn boring courses into engaging experiences, We've learned the basic theory of scenario-based learning approach, the elements of an effective e-learning scenario, also how to create scenarios for different types of content, and how to choose between simple and complex scenarios. The second session was a workshop, very hands-on experience from Inna Solar and Kate Nicholson. We built a role play from scratch with iSpring and learned the overview of role plays and how to utilize them. The key features of the iSpring dialogue and simulation tool, keeping your complex branching dialogue scenarios clear and nicely organized, and how to create an interactive role play from scratch. Next, we had Tom McDowell, who was getting the most out of your SME relationships and also giving you a bit of a consulting on leadership, negotiations, and communications. We now know how to work with a subject matter expert in e-learning specifically, how to formulate a winning strategy of working with an SME, and how to find real SME and filter the ones that just pretend to be SMEs. And finally, last but not least, as I love to say, right after the break, we had Raul Pop. He covered a session about how to sell e-learning to your employees, how to conduct an inner PR campaign and e-learning, how to help employees realize the value of the training, how to engage employees in the training process, and it basically gave us a manual how to go through all of these stages. Again, kind reminder for those who are close to panicking because they understood they missed something out, no panic. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did manage to attend one of the sessions, don't you worry. We will send you recordings of all the sessions after the conference. We will send you the chat messages as well. We'll try to send as many links as possible, and of course, the presentations of the speakers. We are super close to the end, almost there, but I just want to read out at least several messages from the chat for just making sure that we recognize your input. So I think we are very lucky to have the speakers, and can't wait to share the results with your team. So Sarah Jo says she's really looking forward to sharing all of this with the teams. I received a lot of comments about my support. Thank you so very much. I really enjoy reading this. This brings me a lot of energy. Thank you so much. Sarah Jo also says that she enjoyed Kate's Ina and Kate's walking through how to create a role play. This was helpful. It was a good idea to let the audience know what was going to happen and before it would happen, when the breaks would be. So the organizational things were really helpful. The speakers were awesome. And again, many thanks to the participants, to the speakers, and to myself. Of course, I really, really appreciate that. I will keep all of your nice words. I will conserve them as if this is like a jar of apple jam or strawberry jam. I'll conserve it, close it, and in the dark days of my life, I'll open this jar and enjoy your kind words for me to, it will make my heart warmer. Thank you so very much. I'm very passionate about communications, and I'm very passionate about intercultural communications. So I absolutely enjoyed working with the people from all over the world in terms of the experts, the speakers, the participants, and iSpring team. So thank you so much. I hope you'll be able to read the comments that everybody's sharing now, and also think about some of the things that you found very helpful and enjoyable. So I think this first experience was really great because we've put so much love and energy into it. iSpring decided to hold this conference because we believe that tools are only part of great success. I hope that we were able to convince somebody to go over to the side of eLearning and enjoy the community of fantastic people who believe this is an amazing paradigm. So Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, once said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's Specifically, he said about 1,000 li, but since we're speaking in the international English format, 1,000 miles. So I'm very happy that we'll be able to share this first step with you together. We are very happy to become your starting point in e-learning. So if you want to practice running your training and implementing all the knowledge, please get the free trial of iSpring LMS, iSpring Learn LMS, as well as the free trial of iSpring Suite authoring tool. Let these products be your non-judgmental, safe space to experiment, and our customer support manager will guide you through the world of e-learning. So I think I've mentioned most of the things. Oh my God, I'm so scared I'll forget something. I think it is very important to end in a very good note. So even if the conference is over, we do not say goodbye. I personally, again, want to thank everybody for sharing this energy with us. I expect everybody will be receiving a letter from us with all the useful materials and their certificate. And of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send them to my fantastic colleague, nadia.spellman@ispring.com. She's our community manager who stood behind all of this, and she'll be happy to answer as soon as she breathes in, breathes out, and processes all this experience. And I think she is a bit hungry, so we need to finish, at least to let Nadia have her whatever it is in her time zone, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Wow, I think we need to call it a day. We need to call it 2 days. Thank you so very much. It was fantastic being your host, speakers, team, and participants. Have a great end of your day wherever you are at the moment. Enjoy it. And I hope whatever was born here at this conference will stay with you at least for some period of time and will make your educational journey a much more enjoyable one. Bye-bye, and hope to see you at the very next conference.